So the possibilities are clear. So when we speak about Balboa Capital, we have a huge array of loans. In today's conversation, what I want to talk to you about is a massive business loan from Balboa Capital, $250,000 maximum limit. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love this conversation. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you are to ask me, if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee, or tea, or vodka, and let's roll. In today's convo, I want to speak to you about a humongous business loan from Balboa Capital. Before I get into the actual nitty-gritty, please understand that we have no association, no relationship, and no affiliation with or to Balboa Capital. They have not paid us to do this video. This video is purely informational and educational. And let's talk about the loan facts here when we speak about this loan. So with Balboa Capital, you can have a wide constellation of loans. So you have small business loans, equipment financing arrangements, commercial financing, vendor financing, franchise financing, business line of credit. And the amount will fluctuate between $5,000 and $250,000. In terms of APR, you have a factor rate of 1.1 to 1.2. And the fees are variable, okay? And the loan duration here, we're looking at 1 to 5 years. And the time to funding is 24 to 72 hours. Pretty fast, right? And there are no extra conditions. And based on our analysis, we love the fact that Balboa is very flexible. And in this kind of loans, in kind of lending arrangements, there is no collateral required. All credit is considered. So if you have bad credit, you have low credit, you have no credit, you have a poor credit, average credit, every kind of credit is considered. There are no hidden fees, no upfront cost. Okay, and again, we have studied Balboa Capital for a lot of years now, and we love the fact that they're constantly innovating, and they bring to you a whole array of lending arrangements. For example, when people think about Balboa, they only think about the business loans that they have, the term loans, but they also provide things like equipment financing. Like I said, they have a line of credit that's very popular, especially with startups. So their line of credit actually ranges from $5,000 to $250,000 also. And in the hospitality industry, for example, and truckers also love the Balboa Capital equipment financing arrangements. Again, here the financing arrangement can go all the way to $250,000. So this is pretty cool, pretty interesting. Now let me talk to you about this lender. When we speak about Balboa, what do we talk about? But before I get into that, please understand that today I'm speaking to you about an enormous business loan from Balboa Capital. Maximum limit $250,000, minimum $5,000. No credit is good, low credit is good, poor credit is good, fair credit is good. All kinds of credit profiles are accepted. So when we speak about Balboa, they are an online lender and they provide small business loans and equipment financing. That's what they really do. And so like alternative lenders, you can apply online for funding and receive funds within a few days, in some cases within a few hours, okay? And one thing you just have to remember is that with an alternative lender like Balboa Capital, you should be expecting a relatively high interest rate and a frequent repayment schedule. So instead of having the usual monthly repayment, you're going to have to pay to repay the loan every day or every other day or every week. What are the pros and cons here? So pros, you have easy access to financing with low eligibility requirements. This is pretty good. You have a very fast funding process, and equipment financing products offers a corporation only guarantee option. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you do equipment financing or other kinds of asset-based financing, the loan is collateralized. In other words, if you buy equipment, the piece of equipment, the car or the machinery will be the collateral to the loan. What about the cons? So factor rates can increase the cost of financing, And when we speak about Balboa, the only thing they have to work on is the fact that they're not transparent in terms of their fees. They need to work on that. And sometimes they do have hard credit pulls if you do not specify things from the get go. In other words, a lot of their loans are EIN only business loans, but in some cases, they might not have EIN loans. So you want to specify that so that you don't get a hard pull. So after evaluating this lender on tens of criteria, including loan variety, loan amount generosity, cost, reputation, and customer service, we assigned the company a score of 9.5 over 10. And you can see on Trustpilot that they also have great reviews there, and we believe that there is a pattern of borrowers trusting this player. So they have 276 reviews on and an aggregate score of 4.7 stars out of 5. This is pretty good. So great company to consider if you're looking for a small business loan. That's fantastic. I want to talk to you now about eligibility criteria. So folks, again, I'm speaking to you about a king size loan, business loan from Balboa Capital. Minimum amount $5,000, maximum $250,000, right? So when we speak about Balboa Capital, as I said earlier, there is a diversity of loans, right? You just don't get a short-term loan. So you have short-term loans, you have business line of credit, you have, for example, you also have equipment financing and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about eligibility. Overall, Balboa Capital wants you to have annual revenue that will fluctuate between $100,000 and $300,000. Personal credit score, there's no minimum because it doesn't really matter. A lot of those loans are collateralized. And one thing I need to say also is that they want you to be in business for at least 1 year. The loan terms are 2 to 5 years, okay? And one thing you also have to be very careful in terms of they want to make sure the company is based in the United States or Canada. In some very rare cases, they will consider an applicant whose company is in the United States but with operations overseas. But overall, they like the company to be located in the United States or in Canada. And also, they want you to, of course, you have to be in business for 1 year, as I said. They want you to have generate annual revenue of $100,000 to $300,000 minimum. And one thing that they also have said before is that there are some industries that they do not want to finance, and this is just based on their own business model or their own reputation risk management. Okay, so you will not qualify for any of Balboa Capital products mentioned in today's conversation if your business operates within the following industries. So we have oil or gas extraction, durable medical businesses, adult entertainment, gambling, lottery, casinos, aviation, boats. Okay, and so Balboa Capital cannot fund any business that has a tax lien of over $75,000. So if you have an issue with the IRS, you want to fix that before. And they want you to, they require 20% ownership to be represented in the funding application. They will not fund businesses with over 5 non-sufficient funds transactions or 5 overdrafts per month. So they'll take a look at your bank statements, and they do not want to take a second position to other debts. So they want to be the first in line. So if something happens, that at least they know that their interests are protected. Now, let me talk to you about the use of loan proceeds, folks. So when we speak about Balboa Capital, what can you use the money for? Here, the choice is yours. It is totally yours. You can use the money for anything you want. You can expand, you can have inventory, okay? You can actually, you can hire more staff. You can expand the company. You can actually also try to open new branches in the country or in the same city where you are. So the choice is really yours. The problem is they don't have no restriction to how you can use the loan. But again, it is your call to make the right decision for your business. All right, folks, again, I'm talking to you about a massive business loan from Balboa Capital here, okay? $5,000 minimum and $250,000 maximum. This is a huge amount of money. And think about all the things you can do. So I've spoken to you about inventory. and you can actually expand the business. And Balboa also approves businesses that want to use the cash for hiring staff. So let's say you are growing or you have a seasonal business, and the cyclicality of your business requires you to maybe add more staff. Balboa Capital can finance that. They also have been good in financing everything from equipment. So let's say you want to buy a new piece of equipment, a new piece of machinery. You want to whatever can be a long-term asset, they will finance that. Of course, they want to take the first position in the collateral line, right? So this is important for them to pay attention to. So this is fantastic. And one thing I also want to say here is that you can use the Balboa Capital funding for marketing, for working capital. First of all, you can use it for working capital, and in that case, we would suggest that you go with a business line of credit, the Balboa Capital business line of credit. That way, you have access to, I would say, quote unquote, available cash. You can tap into the line and repay it as you want, and you can use the money for a lot of things. You can use the money for marketing purposes, for example. You can upgrade software or hardware in your company. So the picture I'm trying to paint here is that there is a large variety of options of things you can do with a Balboa Capital loan. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm still having a conversation with you about a massive business loan from Balboa Capital. We're talking about a minimum amount of $5,000 and a maximum amount of $250,000. Isn't that beautiful? That's just fantastic. And so the evidence needed. So what is the evidence needed to qualify for this Balboa Capital business loan? There are a couple of things that you need. You need to show a certificate of good standing. You need to have a voided business check. They want to have that. They want to have a copy of your driver's license. You want to show a 2-year balance sheet for deals above $250,000. I'll come back. I'll explain that later on. They want you to show a 2-year profit and loss statement for deals above $250,000. 2 years of business tax returns for deals above $250,000. And 3 months of business bank statements for working capital loans. So you can see that the requirements are different for the kind of deals you are interested in. So even though I have told you that the maximum amount funded by Balboa Capital is $250,000, there are some transactions, there are some applications where they are willing to go above the $250,000. So it is possible. So you got to provide a certificate of good standing for all transactions. Avoid a business check. Sometimes they want you to link your bank account to theirs, or at least for them to see that they can actually take the money. They can get paid. As I told you with the Balboa Capital, you're not paying them every month. No, you're paying them every day, or you're paying them every week. They want the frequency here. So they need to have some kind of ACH so that they can draw the payment from your account automatically, right? And so for deals that are above $250,000, they want to see a 2-year balance sheet, 2-year profit and loss statement, 2 years of business tax returns. The reason is that they want to have an idea of your financial situation, whether your company is lethargic or growing, whether your company is stagnant or growing. Okay, so the balance sheet shows assets and liabilities. The profit and loss statement is also called the income statements. That's the financial statement where you have your revenue and your expenses, and the bottom you have the net income. Okay, so they really want to perform some analysis, some in-depth analysis by looking at 2-year or 2-year balance sheet and P&L. So this is kind of the kind of evidence. Of course, besides that, they also want to see things like articles of incorporation, business licenses and registrations, copies of contracts you have with any third parties, franchise agreements if applicable, commercial leases, and organizing. And they also want to see, if possible, a business plan. Let me quickly talk to you now about how to apply, because again, I'm talking to you folks about an enormous business loan from Balboa Capital. Minimum amount 2025. No, minimum amount is $5,000. Yes, I got it right. And the maximum amount is $250,000. So when I speak about a massive business loan from Balboa Capital, I want you to think of it as a constellation of different loans. So we have working capital loans, we have merchant cash, we have equipment financing, we have business term loans, we have business lines of credit. So it's not just one type of loan, okay? And so to apply, you can apply via email. You can apply. You can fax over the application form to them. You can have a phone conversation. That's really cool. You can actually visit a branch if possible, or you can mail in the application. All kinds of options are available. Now, I want to show you right now on the screen if you can see this. One thing that we love with Balboa Capital is that you don't have to. You can have a pre-qualification process in place, so you can get a free loan quote. Right, this will not affect your credit. There's no obligation. There's not even a soft pull here. They just their algorithm is just gauging your financials, your data, and giving you an amount based on the kind of data you gave into the system. So we did a little, we played a little bit around this, so we can see, you can see on the screen here. So we put our first name, last name, the name of the business, the email, the phone number, and we put for annual revenue $350,000, and years in business 3 to 4 years, and credit score we put like the bottom, like bad credit score, and we put 575 to 624. And you can see that basically once we put that, Balboa Capital, the algorithm there they said that we have been pre-approved for $38,663. Okay, so basically what's going on is here is that once you have this, they will contact you. So because this is a pre-approval, they will contact you and see if you are interested in pursuing the conversation with them. Or that's the first option. You can do the pre-qualification option, right? This option number 1, pre-qualification, or option number 2, you can decide to apply fully. So if you want to apply fully, you can see on the screen here, they want you, the first screenshot, they want you to put your company info, all right? And then, so you have to put name, business information, the amount that you need, right? Your annual revenue, all that kind of stuff. And the second slide here, you can see that they want to have some information about the owner, things like your social security number, your EIN, percentage of ownership, all that kind of stuff. And in the third slide, after that, they just want you to review everything and submit. And once that you submit, they'll get back to you. All right, folks, I want to give you a few pro tips to kind of help you increase your chances of getting the business loan from Balboa Capital. So again, we're speaking about a gigantic business loan from Balboa Capital. Minimum amount $5,000, maximum amount $250,000, right? And so if you want to increase your chances, first of all, you got to have your documents ready. So we spoke about having your financial statements, having having everything of a certificate of good standing, right? Your tax returns, your bank statements. These elements constitute the core, the fulcrum upon which Balboa Capital will base their decision. It's very important to be so you have that. So you have what I call the financial documents, then you have the operational documents, and then you have the fiscal documents. All right. So the operational documents will be things like contracts, business permits, and licenses. If you are in an industry that requires that kind of stuff, you want to have it ready, because Balboa Capital is very, very adamant at making sure that all the borrowers that they fund are compliant. So they will check everything. They will check everything from A to Z. You bet they will. And one thing you also want, so you have the financial documents, the operational documents, and the fiscal documents. So for the fiscal, I'm just picking about tax returns. Make sure all your tax returns are okay. And in some cases, for some transactions, especially the larger amounts, they will check also your personal tax returns they will check the personal tax returns for the owners. Okay, so they will look into your Schedule C. They will not only look at the company's tax returns, the 1120S or 1120C or the 1065, and they will also check the 1040 of all the owners, and specifically the Schedule C. So those are things you have to pay attention to. 3 things: operational document, financial documents, and fiscal documents. Okay, for financial documents, you of course have to have the four financial statements, because even though they're asking only for two, they're asking for 2-year balance sheet analysis and 2-year P&L income statement analysis. They are also interested in checking the company's cash flow, which is the third financial statement, and also in some cases the company's statement of stockholders' equity, which is the fourth financial statement. So those are things you need to be aware of. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. Really appreciate to have a conversation with you today, and I will speak to you another time. I was speaking to you today about a massive business loan from Balboa Capital, and I spoke to you about the loan facts. I gave you a glimpse into the company's operation, and I spoke to you about the eligibility criteria, the use of loan proceeds, the evidence needed, and how to apply. And in the end, I gave you a few pro tips to help you increase your chances of being approved. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.